What's going on, guys? Your boy Fluff here. Today we might very well have the fastest necro setup there is. It is by far and away the fastest Rathma setup we've ever seen. This thing is a screen deleter. So without further ado, let's get into the Singularity Speed Necromancer. Out of the gate, you might be thinking, well, Singularity, Fluff, that doesn't really work for speed because you kind of have to build up your essence, then spend it, then build it up again to even get that full power on the Singularity mages. Most of the time you have, 10 out that aren't at full power, which doesn't really equate to a lot of damage, a lot of speed. But guys, in this build, we're actually going to have 10 mages up, 95% of the time that are at full power plus some. And we'll show you guys how. Now, this is a Rathma build, so naturally it is a pet build, and it's based around Skeletal Mage Singularity, which says, consumes all essence to summon a powerful minion. This minion's damage is increased by 3% for every point of essence consumed. So right away, we know that we want to juice up our essence as high as possible. The more essence we have, the more these guys are going to deal damage. But before we get into that, let's talk about how we're juicing up the power of these mages. Just like Army of the Dead, we are using the 6-set bonus on Rathma, which says each skeletal mage active increases the damage of your minions and Army of the Dead by 625 up to a maximum of 2500%. So basically, if you have 4 skeletal mages out, you're getting this full 2500% damage bonus. Another way we're giving these guys more juice is using Scythe of the Cycle, which says your secondary skills deal up to 300% additional damage while bone armor is active, but reduce the remaining duration of bone armor by 4 seconds. So again, guys, if we keep bone armor up, guess what? We're gonna have a flat 300% damage multiplier to our mages. Another way the mages get more power is by using Tasker and Thera, which says increase the attack speed of your pets by 50%. This thing is insanely powerful. And then last but not least, of course, guys, we're running Crispin Sentence. You deal 100% increased damage to slowed enemies. Triple that bonus against enemies afflicted by any other type of control impairing effect. So in this build, we are running Land of the Dead, frozen lands. So they're going to be frozen a good percentage of the time. And we also have bone armor dislocation. So we're going to be able to stun on demand to proc the triple bonus. And of course, we're also juicing this up by wearing the Circle of Neluge Evil, which is Julian's Love backwards. So we're just going to call it Julian's Love Ring, guys, which says that you now raise an additional skeletal mage with each cast, and they last an additional up to 4 seconds. So you guys can even see here, my ring is shite, and we're still just flying through this stuff. So between that and Extended Servitude, which says increase the duration of your skeletal mage by 25%. These mages are going to be up for a good amount of time. Now, the last way we're juicing this up is by gaining as much essence as we possibly can. And how do we do this? One is we're using Simulacrum with the rune Reservoir, which says your maximum essence is increased by 100% while Simulacrum is active. So on this character, and we're not optimized, guys, but we have 310 essence. We pop Simulacrum with Reservoir. Guess what? We have 620 essence. And why is that good? Again, Skeletal Mage with Singularity. It says consume all essence to summon a powerful minion. This minion's damage is increased by 3% for every point of essence consumed. So say we have just 300 essence, we're going to be a 900% damage multiplier. And then when we double our essence pool with Reservoir, we get a 1800% damage multiplier on top of these other multipliers. So just crazy. Now you might have seen this in some of the other push builds. Simulacrum's a very commonly used skill inside of Singularity Mage push build for Rathma. It's on a long cooldown, so it's kind of just used to burst down elites on occasion. But in this build, guys, we're gonna have, depending on how the rift is, almost 100% uptime on the Simulacrum Reservoir. We're also juicing up our essence with the passive Overwhelming Essence, which of course increases our maximum essence by 40. And then ideally, you would want to have essence on the secondary of your Scythe of the Cycle. We unfortunately did not get it, but this one is quite good. So we're missing 20 essence on this weapon, guys. And you might think, well, that can't be a big deal. Guys, again, 3% damage for every point of essence. We're missing 60% damage just by not having essence on the secondary here. So then again, on the offhand, guess what, guys? We want max essence on that secondary. And of course, in our Paragon, we're going to go for that maximum essence roll as soon as we get movement speed capped. So you're thinking, Fluff, what's the gimmick here? Land of the Dead, huge cooldown. Simulacrum, huge cooldown. You can't really use Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac here in this build because that says reduces the remaining cooldowns of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spinning attack. And guys, unfortunately this doesn't work with the mages because the mages are actually hitting. You're just casting them with your essence. So we can't use Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. But by maximizing CDR on absolutely every piece possible, I am in no way fully optimized here. I am missing CDR. So don't freak out and walk away thinking you absolutely have to, but the more CDR you're going to get in this build, the more powerful you become. So we're going to want CDR on our gloves, CDR on our shoulders, a diamond in the helmet, CDR on our Scythe of the Cycle, CDR on our offhand, and of course we're running the Vigilant belt as well because we do need that extra cooldown reduction, so this is going to be best in slot. Gonna want CDR on our rings if we can possibly get it. As you guys can see here, I don't have 8% on everything. None of this gear is amazing. This is my seasonal character, guys. Keep that in mind when you see these clear times. I'm only at 860 Paragon. I have absolutely nothing despaired. I'm not even fully ancient, so that should give us around 55% cooldown, assuming you have great CDR on these pieces. Now, to keep these Simulacrum guys up, we are using Haunted Visions, just like our Blood Nova build, which says Simulacrum now drains 5% of your maximum life every second and lasts twice as long. So Simulacrum will last 30 seconds instead of 15 seconds. This makes it 1,000 times more viable. Now, lastly, we're using in-geom in the cube, just like pretty much all the best speed builds out there. This helps you fly around the map because you have Blood Rush without cooldown. If you get a couple procs on this guy, you're gonna completely reset the cooldown of Simulacrum and Land the Dead. So if you get a nice juicy rift, you can get crazy uptime on some of these cooldowns. So that covers how we're going to try to keep Simulacrum and Land the Dead cooldowns as low as possible. It doesn't cover how we're going to get the maximum essence to even cast these singularities at full power. So what are we doing to gain essence like crazy? One, we're using Dark Reaping, which says you gain 2% essence per kill, just as long as you're using a Scythe. You definitely want to wear Scythe of the Cycle and not wear in-geom, guys. 2, we're using Devour with Cannibalize, which says each corpse consumed also restores 3% health, and by default it restores 10 essence per corpse. But we're actually wearing the Requiem Seraplate, which says Devour restores an additional up to 100% essence and life. In addition, when Devour restores essence and life above your maximum, the excess is granted over 3 seconds. So every corpse is going to get us 2% because it's a kill, plus Requiem is going to give us basically 200%, which will give us 20 essence per kill. And then if we kill, say, a whole screen full of mobs, we're going to get essence over time to keep us at that full mark. And you guys will see that in the videos above. Just watch that essence just fly up over and over. It's crazy. So when Land of the Dead is up, guys, you basically get to cast mages, spam Devour, and watch the essence just go up like crazy. So we're spamming mages, and it's just filling over and over because of how fast our region comes back from the Seraplate. Now you combine that with actual corpses on the screen, that's OP. The Land of the Dead, yeah, okay, cool, that's great, but you're only going to be able to do that, you know, every once in a while. Just like Corpsemancer, guys, it's up almost every other elite pack. It's really, really nice, but what are you supposed to do in between that? Well, because Simulacrum is also up, basically every single time we cast a mage, we get 4. They double our cast. We basically get double the mages. So those times in between elite packs, we're going to be getting double mage casts, which we already are thanks to the Circle of Natural Evil. And of course, we're using Bone Armor with Dislocation. 1, because we need it for Scythe of the Cycle. It's definitely part of its requirement to get that 300% damage multiplier. But make sure, guys, this never drops. Not only are you going to feel it in toughness, but you're going to feel it in damage. Dislocation because, again, like I was saying, we want an on-demand proc of Crispin Sentence. We're using Blood Rush with Molting here because anytime you dash, you leave behind a corpse, which you can then consume. And when in-geom is up, guys, you can basically just dash around all day and keep popping these corpses as much as you want. Casting skeleton mages, you just port. You don't even have to attack anything. You're just porting. You're dodging effects. You're creating these corpses to make your essence go up like crazy. Now we've kind of touched on all these passes, but the last one is Final Service. Now this option actually isn't great. This passive, the way it works is really shitty for summoner type necromancers. So it saves you from death, which is great, but in addition, all of your minions are consumed to heal for 10% of your life. Now this is actually incredibly bad because these Singularity mages are super juiced up. When you lose them from a DI, you suffer the consequences. Now, you know, if Land of the Dead's up, you can keep casting them, no big deal. But if you proc guys, you're gonna feel it. This won't end your rift or anything like that, but it's gonna definitely slow you down. Make sure you're dodging as much as possible. You are not a tank in this build, guys. You are a squishy little piece of paper. But the fact that everything absolutely dies, everything dies. The damage you do in this build is insane. Nothing even survives to look at you the wrong way. Your toughness isn't super needed here. Now, how are we getting toughness? We are using 4-piece Wrathma, which says you gain 1% damage reduction up to a maximum of 50 stacks every time your minions hit something. So that's basically a flat 50% damage reduction. We're healing like crazy because of Requiem. And that's basically it as far as mitigation goes. For legendary gems, we're using Bane of the Trapped. Duh. Enforcer, another duh, we're using pets. And then we're using Bane of the Powerful. Now again, guys, you are incredibly squishy, like a flimsy piece of paper. But, that being said, there are two particular mob types you should look out for. Grotesques obviously blow up, and so when you're porting around, that can be dangerous. And the Succubus, the little fireball, they can cast it from, you know, off screen basically, and it will chase you down. But that's really all you have to look out for. And again, guys, this is the most optimal setup. This will do the most damage, but a couple options for you guys. One, if you don't have haunted visions, or if you just find you're dying too much, you can use Wisdom of Kalan. Again, this mostly relies on elites for in-geom to bring down these cooldowns, so maybe Simulacrum lasting twice as long isn't super necessary, but it's fantastic. You can also swap out Bane of the Powerful for Esoteric Alteration in favor of more mitigation. But once you guys practice this, you'll see that although it's squishy, it's insanely powerful. Now let's talk about stat rolls real quick. Like I said earlier, we want CDR on every possible piece. On the gloves, we really want a dream roll, which is int, cooldown reduction, crit chance, crit damage, and even if you can roll off intelligence for attack speed, that would be even better. Shoulders, invite, life is really good here, and cooldown reduction. You could go area damage instead of life, but we tried to build up our health pool as high as we possibly can to help prevent getting one shot. Helmet, invite, crit chance, and again here guys, you can roll Skeletal Mage. It's up to you. If you think you can survive, do it. Definitely need a diamond in the helmet though, more CDR. Chest, invite, armor or life, whichever. I just rolled this to get this build out as fast as possible. On the belt, it's the Vigilant belt, so we want that cooldown. Preferably we'd want invite and life. As always guys, any secondary you can get to roll physical resistance is really, really good. Pants, invite armor. Boots, invite armor and skeletal mage damage. The offhand guys is a lot like the Bloodlands build. It doesn't matter, it's just going to be a stat stick for you. You want a damage roll, crit chance, cooldown reduction. Definitely want that maximum essence roll. Again guys, it's huge damage, 60% damage. On the weapon, we want cooldown reduction, the highest damage roll obviously. You probably actually want attack speed here instead of damage, but we use this scythe for our Blood Nova build too, so we don't want to just completely destroy it for that build. That's the only reason we have damage roll on this still. And again, you would want maximum essence in the secondary. The bracers, we're using Nemesis bracers, of course, because we're using in-geom, and that's a no-brainer. But B, Nemesis are just amazing, period. Spawning elites off shrines speeds up the rift like crazy. And we want physical, invite, crit chance. We are a physical damage dealer here, so juice that up as best you can. Which brings us to our neck. If you can get physical, crit damage, that's ideal, but this will work just fine. And then the rings. Now, Julian's ring can actually roll really well. It's one of the rare necro-specific rings that doesn't default attack speed, which is great. And why do the other ones do? I don't know. It's the worst. It makes it so hard to roll anything good in necro jewelry. But ideally on this one, if you can, you want the 4-second skeletal mage, obviously. Cooldown reduction, crit chance, crit damage. And then you can either wear the Christmas Sentence or the Ring of Royal Grandeur. For the other ring slot, you can wear either Ring of Royal Grandeur or Christmas Sentence. They both have a default roll of attack speed. It's awful. But you're gonna want that cooldown reduction. Again, guys, hopefully in, season 12, they'll take off these stupid attack speed rolls. They did the same thing for Monk and Sun Wuku on their neck forever ago. So hopefully people will complain enough that they take off this horrible attack speed roll, because it really makes things like Wisdom of Kalan, Crispin Sentence almost impossible to roll really well. We're going to touch on some key gameplay mechanics. If in-geom's up, like I said, you can spam Blood Rush, get those corpses, which will help you juice up, devour, and get that essence as high as possible. There's nothing stopping you from just spamming it while elites are on the screen, and you'll see us do that quite a bit. Now also, again, because the simulacrum will last longer than Land of the Dead, it will last 30 seconds. When Land of the Dead drops and you're no longer gaining essence like crazy, you still want to build up your essence to max before you spend it. There's kind of 3 ways you play your essence pool with the mages. When Land of the Dead is up, you obviously wait till full, which is like a second, cast the Singularities. When Land of the Dead drops, you'll still want to wait till it's full because Simulacrum will cast double mages. And then if Simulacrum drops because you have like a bad rift or whatever, you basically just want to cast skeletal mages as soon as they're up to have 10 out. There's like 3 phases of how you play it, but phase 3 doesn't happen a lot, guys, unless you just get a really bad rift. Now, as always, guys, we'll leave a rift clear at the end of this video. We've done 69s in just under 2 minutes, which is absolutely crazy. Now, we have done that with our Quartzmancer setup, but the gear on our Quartzmancer is pretty close to being optimized, whereas this, we're still missing a lot. So, is it the best? I'll let you guys be the judge. It's between this and Quartzmancer and Blood Mage for me, hands down, but this is amazing, and we hope you guys like it. As always, guys, like, subscribe, come over to Twitch, ask your questions, support us on Patreon. We love you guys. Peace out.